So this is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
And I'm Nancy Richards, and we're doing a little redo.
Oof. Well, we're editing. We're doing some editing, and so in part because we were contemplating about how we wanted to address, a local story that has been brewing here on Staten Island for the last couple of days. So yesterday we got the pretty. I was shocked that Allison Ziogas dropped out of the congressional primary. And in part because, the county committee really threw their lot in with her, at least as far as I can tell.
They did. They
Um,
went out and got signatures for her, and they had,
5,000.
and a few days even before she announced she was not running, they had, made an announcement how they had got so many signatures and they did a great job, and then this happened. So, um, I wish Allison well. I hope she's okay. Um, but this definitely throws a monkey wrench into this campaign. Um, and the Democratic county had already endorsed her. So now it's time to endorse Mike DeCillis, who is the Democrat still running for Congress. And we need to defeat Nicole Maliotakis.
Yes, we do. And, just for the record, Allison Ziogas put out a statement that said that the reason that she was suspending her campaign was due to health reasons. And I've on the record, I hope that she's okay and that her health issues are resolved soon and she could go on and do other great things on Staten Island if she wants to in the future when the time is better for her. And so,
Yes. Yeah,
hmm,
I would really like to see more of her. I didn't really see much of her prior to this, her running for Congress. I liked her opening ad that she put out. She seems to have backing of strong union backing. So good. I hope we see her more of her in the future.
yeah,
Um, and so now the county has to back Mike. They
they do.
haven't done they haven't yet, but
No, they
uh,
haven't. They haven't done that as of yet. Although there is this another article around the same subject came out today in the Staten Island Advance, which said basically that a option that they are considering is to back a third party candidate as opposed to the existing Democrat in the race, Mike DeCillis. And part of the
well,
reason,
I
yeah,
hope they don't. I hope they don't do that. They should back the Democrat. So
and
let's
the re
they haven't
yeah.
made any decision yet. So county, you should back Mike DeCillis. I think that's the only conclusion right now.
Yeah. Well, they also are doing this in part because the requirements, even if you wanted to run another Democrat, uh, the petitioning's done.
Right. They
Petitioning,
can't.
petitioning's over.
They missed that
People,
deadline.
yeah, they missed the deadline to run somebody else, and they spent all their time getting the signatures for
Well, they
Alice.
have somebody, Mike
Yeah.
DeCillis. He's a Democrat. He's
Yeah.
still running, and good thing he is, because now we still have a Democrat because Troy has dropped out of the race. So unless they have some secret agent who is going to run, you know, I don't, maybe they're seeing if there's somebody else, but otherwise, Mike should be the legit person that they endorse. So
Absolutely.
good. I
And
hope
I'm
they
all
do.
for And I'm all for primaries if they happen because when I went to in September, I went to Kamala Harris's book launch in Manhattan, and I was talking to some people in the audience, and in part, what a lot of people said is even though they supported Kamala Harris and voted for her and did what they could to get her elected, they did feel disappointed that there wasn't an active primary for that race. And so uh, I am for primaries when they occur. And so,
Oh, I would
uh,
love to have seen a primary for that race.
yeah,
Um, but the thing is, this is a different scenario, and
yeah,
you know, they had backed someone. She dropped out. So therefore, they should just endorse the person who's still in it, the Democrat, because the Democratic County Committee are Democrats, just like Mike
Yeah,
DeSillis is a Democrat. Um, yeah, I think really that's basically it. I don't I don't see another option. I just
I
don't see
don't
another option, and the third party isn't another
know.
option.
No.
Um, it
And I don't think Democrats should run away from being Democrats. I know that
no,
that's a temptation in places like Staten Island and in, places where general elections are competitive. I know Democrats tend to be tempted by that and maybe say, oh, there's a guy running in Nebraska actually for the Senate who is, he's probably, if he wins, he's running as an independent, but if he wins, he's probably going to caucus with the Democrats.
like
And
Bernie.
yeah, so he is, but he's not actively courting, the Democratic Party over there. And so basically that may work over there. I don't know. But I think for the most part, I think Democrats should not run away from being Democrats. And I think Mike DeSillis is a candidate who is unapologetic about the things that he believes and the what he would do as far as if he were elected to Congress, not only
And
fighting democracy, but also the economic issues that we're also concerned about.
and we had him on the show, and his platform is are democratic values.
Yes,
So I think he'll make a great candidate. I think we need to build momentum. I this is an unfortunate you know, this is an unfortunate, the fact that Allison dropped out. We won't have this primary. Um, but in any scenario, we we have Mike. So I'm assuming they will at this time of us doing the show, we do not have a comment. We didn't seek one from county. So we don't, we're just going based off of what we read in the advance today. If county wants to come on and discuss this with us, we'd be happy to have them. So
yeah. Well, I absolutely also think, they need to provide some clarity to their own members, to the county committee members who work so hard to get Allison on the ballot by getting signatures and raising money and doing all the things you need to do for candidates. And so,
do you know anything
absolutely.
if they're having a meeting or?
I know that there have been discussions. I don't know that there's been a formal meeting as of right now, but I hope that there is because, county committee members work really hard. It's not easy to get signatures, and so I'm hoping that they get some direction and that they get some, guidance on what comes next from the leadership. And so I'm hoping that we can actually get this together because, as I've been saying, Democrats across the country have the wind at their backs tonight. Virginia just passed a redistricting map. I was really
It,
worried at
is it
first. They did.
closed? Is it official? Did they officially
They
win?
ca- they called it. Yeah, they
Oh,
called
very
it.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Loriana. So,
It's for
um,
yes, it's and well, it's right now it's as of 87% of the vote is in, but they're projecting that yes wins. And so that means that Virginia will have a 10-1 map, 10 Democrats, one Republican. And so uh, you know, I think this is just the latest example of Democrats overperforming in places around the country in state and local races and in these broader ballot questions. I was really concerned for most of the night because No was sort of inching ahead. And I had been hearing some things, and I know California passed a similar initiative in Prop 50, but this is a different state, and it's a much more closely divided state. I know they tend to lean Democratic and they vote Democratic in presidential elections recently, but it's much more divided than California is, or any other of the more solidly blue states are. And so I was concerned throughout the middle of the night, just in where it was going. But I'm relieved to see that yes is going to win. And I think precisely because we have the wind at the back, or at our backs here in Staten Island, we absolutely have to unite behind Mike DeCillis. We have to do everything we can to get him elected. We have to raise money. It's a lot of money to run for office. It's not easy on people's time or energy, so we have to really uh, do what we can to help him. And Mike, you are welcome to come on anytime. I know you've been on the show before. You're welcome to come on again and show you and talk about the issues of the day and your platform and the race that you're running.
Embarrassing. Um, who's Staten Island Blue Dot?
I don't know who's behind the account, but it's I know
They just put out a criticizing county for
yes, they've promoted our content before.
so no, but yeah, they just there's a little Instagram post uh about that. So they're like so we will just curious who Staten Island Blue if Staten Island Blue Dot wants to come on and talk about this, please come
Yes.
on.
And
Uh,
absolutely. And, I think I agree with the assessment of that video. I did see it before we came on. I agree with the assessment that, this gambit of backing an independent candidate is not a good idea. I think it's stupid. I think it is, against our interest to, you know, run somebody and not call them a Democrat. We're Democrats. We should own that. We should embrace that. We should, especially now, especially when nationally the wind is at our back, we have to do that. And, I hope that the party leadership gets it together. And I hope that the party leadership backs Mike DeCillis. Mike DeCillis is the candidate in the race. And I'm not sure why they haven't endorsed him yet, but they should. And they should talk about it. They should give their members a sense of where things are going. And because I agree, this does look bad. It does look bad. And, I'm going to quote Will Rogers here again. I'm not part of any organized party. I'm a Democrat.
mm. Well, there's a lot of different points of view in the Democrat Party, so that's
Oh no, you're sounding like a Republican. You're calling us the Democrat Party.
the Democrat Party. So, well, in the Democratic Party, sorry, but in regards to like, um, I'm just saying to our fault, we have many different points of view, which is also our strength as well. But um, just in regards to, let's just back Mike. He's a good candidate, and we can flip the district. So let's flip it. Let's put all our eggs and
Well,
and we see someone, I don't know who Staten Island Blue Dot is, but they're kind of saying, what we just said, like, back Mike, you got a good candidate. So your person didn't dropped out. So
yeah, and just to be clear, we were people. Nancy and I made an effort when it seemed like there was going to be a primary. We made an effort to um, treat everybody fairly and to hear both candidates out. We were actually preparing to talk to Allison this week, and so we were preparing to hear both candidates out. But now there's only one, and one who's eminently qualified, and who I think a lot of people here in this district see themselves in, just as a career public servant in many different capacities.
yeah, it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to talking with her,
Me
but
too.
we that show is canceled now. So
Yeah,
here we are
yeah.
because of the latest news. So wish her well. Hope she's okay. And moving forward, what do the Irish say? Onwards and upwards. So that's what we have to say about this party and the race. Onwards and upwards. Let's go. Um, Another thing, so the good thing for Democrats is Virginia, so that's good. Um, and what else is going on? What
Well,
else do
there's
we
a
have going on?
there's a lot. Virginia is another victory for Democrats tonight. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no shortage of national stories. I mean, we had another cabinet secretary leave and resign yesterday in the Trump administration. Lori Chavez DeRemer, she left the post. And actually, there's been a number of different theories for why she did. I don't know if she was fired or she left, but in part, she was supposed to, one of the only inspector generals that Donald Trump did not get rid of in his administration was for the Labor Department. Got rid of them in the Justice Department, got rid of them in the Defense Department, but he kept the Inspector General in the Labor Department. And she was going to be sitting down with the Inspector General in the Labor Department for allegations of sexual misconduct by her and her husband. Her husband is accused of, unwanted sexual advances towards Labor Department employees, and she is accused of having a relationship with a younger Labor Department staffer.
And they're
Uh,
still married?
yes,
Wow.
that's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear, and so I don't. I was what was strange to me was that a cabinet secretary's spouse was given that much access to that person's department. And because and this was going on with Lori Chavez Dreamer for months. It wasn't as though this was a new breaking story. So that's what makes me think the Inspector General interview really had her spooked. Because this was going on since at least, December, January. I remember hearing about this.
And well, I saw her this week as like the majority of the cabinet that is being asked to leave or fired are female. So
Yeah.
we're not holding the men who are behaving badly to the fire, like Kash Patel. Um, that article that was printed in the Atlantic about his drinking issues, and now he's suing, uh, but he's going to have a hard time, uh, taking that to court. I think that's a bad move on his part because he's going to be under scrutiny, going to court, and but he's like, I'm going to sue them. All that stuff is not true. Like he's accusing them of malice, and so he has to prove that, and it's going to be hard. So, but but he's his own worst enemy. Like, I mean, not that he's not entitled to go out and party, but that episode where he's like pretty much funneling a beer,
With the
um,
Olympic
with
team.
the, yeah, with the Olympic team. I don't know. I kind of take my FBI, a little bit more seriously. This is like like another frat boy, you
Well, he's
know,
well, the Atlantic article says a lot of things. It says number one that
they have to bang
he's
down the door because
yes, they to be they are so he is so fucked up. He is so done. He's so drunk that they have to pry open his door with the jaws of life, essentially. And they also say that they have to move briefings and meetings to later in the day because he's so hungover. And my favorite anecdote and my favorite story, and I think I told you this the other day when we were out in Manhattan, but my favorite one was when he couldn't remember the password to something he was logging in, and he thought that meant that he got fired. And he was like in hysterics over it. And I think the reason is because he knows he's incompetent. He knows that, in this case, if he has imposter syndrome, it's correct. It's true because he should not be in that job. He is totally unqualified. He's just a lackey. He is just a frat boy. And I think he has a little bit of a coke problem too, because every time he talks, he has to sniffle. And so
well,
that's
I,
just my view.
well, I don't know what his that is, but I just think that, Trump is a teetotaler, and I don't think he's gonna tolerate you know, alcohol behavior for very long. So, whether it's in the Atlantic or it's shown like he sees him downing a beer with the Olympic team, um, you know, like Pete Hegseth, is he staying sober? I know we they joke about it a lot on SNL, but these are like two like frat boys, and they seem to get a little bit more of a pass than women. There was also some talk with the labor who had like a drinking issue as well. So
Lori Chavez Dreamer?
yeah, I think that they were talking about there was
I
something
would,
about some.
I did hear that too. And, and just to be clear about Lori Chavez Dreamer, when she was picked by Trump to be labor secretary, a lot of, I heard somebody from the unions describe her this week as the best of the worst options. And like people real in the unions, particularly the Teamsters, were really instrumental in in picking her for this job. She had actually just lost her reelection bid for Congress. She was defeated in Oregon by Janelle Bynum, and she was picked to do this job instead. And so. Um, but the conduct that was described, I expected her actually to go first because it was kind of a layup for Trump. Some of the things that were described that her husband was doing, and that she was accused of doing, I think would have been easy to,
And they're still married, and they're
yeah.
not getting rid of him.
Well, I don't know. Well, she's got her own indiscretions as far as I can tell. And
Yes.
she's got her own indiscretions, but
Oh, yes.
they are, it is quite the cast of characters. And I have to give the flowers to The Atlantic because The Atlantic has done some really phenomenal reporting throughout this administration.
They have.
Um,
I have a subscription now. I bought a
yeah,
subscription.
Signalgate, they were the ones who broke that story. That's because
Mhm.
Jeffrey Goldberg was added to the chat by mistake. And then
They
and then this
they have a
one.
lot. They have they do some really great reporting. So I definitely I subscribe to them and
Yeah, and
buy a subscription. Get the
Lorraine Powell,
magazine.
yeah, Lorraine Powell Jobs, who is actually the widow of Steve Jobs. She owns The Atlantic, and she has been one of the only
Oh, I
people
didn't know
in,
that. Okay.
yeah, she is the only person, one of the only people in media to not bend the knee, unlike CBS and ABC. And the Washington Post and other outlets that we thought were more mainstream. And she's been the only one to uh, say, we're going to fight these in court. And you were absolutely right before when I would love to see the discovery
I
for that lawsuit.
I don't think it's going to get very far, to be quite honest.
I
But
don't think so either.
you know, going after the Atlantic, good luck, Cash Patel. But then, we were talking about earlier that um the southern the
So
Southern
the
Poverty
Southern
uh,
Poverty Law Center, yeah,
is also being brought to court as well.
they're under indictment, criminal indictment this time. This is not a lawsuit. Yeah.
This is like it's like sending like Mother Teresa. I'm sorry. They do all they do is fight justice. Like they're just good. I don't know, really. Like what did
They
they
were
do? What did they do that,
Well, here's the deal.
pissed them off?
They were accusing the Southern Poverty Law Center of having an anti-Christian and anti-conservative bias. And now here's what they're charging them with. They're charging them with, improperly paying informants to go inside. Sometimes these very dangerous organizations, sometimes these very dangerous hate groups to infiltrate them and to expose them. And they were able to do this time because they had a very, I think, a fairly friendly jury. They brought the charges in Alabama, probably where a lot of these groups are headquartered, I would imagine. And and so they were able to indict in this case. But it seems to be a competition now, especially now that Pam Bondi was given the heave-ho by Donald Trump. There are all of these U.S. attorneys are kind of jockeying for position because they want that job. Todd Blanche is really aggressively, he's the acting attorney general now, but the deputy officially. He is moving forward with trying to prosecute James Clapper, former CIA director. And he's using a friendly grand jury, presumably in Florida. I heard he hopes to get none other than Judge Eileen Cannon to try that case. Eileen Cannon was the judge who threw out Donald Trump's classified documents case.
Oh,
And probably a Supreme Court nominee if one of those, if Thomas or Alito retires. And so uh, that's part of Todd, that's what Todd Blanche is doing to try and gain Trump's favor. So maybe he could get the top job permanently. Judge Box of Wine is also kicking things into gear. Janine Pirro, she wants that job too. She's trying
oh, I
to.
would love to see her as Attorney General. I mean, I'm joking, but
Well, like I said on the last episode, I think she's probably the best option if we really want to save democracy and the rule of law because she's so incompetent. But I think she is
well, yeah.
she's pursuing politically motivated charges too. And one of those is, Trump said earlier this week he does not want the Justice Department to drop their probe of Fed Chair Jerome Powell. She's the one who initiated that. And then the U.S. attorney from Michigan is also seeking ballots from Detroit in 2024.
Well, I saw something on Sunday morning that in regards to how they are getting rid of the judges, the immigration judges, and they're advertising as, judges of for deportation, you know, they're as opposed to immigration because the executive branch, because that jurisdiction is not under the Department of the courts, it's under the Department of Justice. So they are getting rid of, they're just firing people who, who were judges because you know, they're giving people, immigration status and they're advertising it as deportation judges, which is, I saw that on Sunday morning. So it's just gross. Just, yeah, okay. I don't know. I'm just so when I think about in regards to when we think our only hope is the justice system, like which part of the justice system? Because they're chipping away at that too. And
Well,
there's
with
little
varying
really hope.
with varying degrees of success, I would say. Um, you know, I was reading a Department memo that's basically, or somebody from the just inside the Justice Department said, ideally they're looking for people who are MAGA but competent. Usually those two things don't go hand in hand because, if you're MAGA, you're probably stone cold dumb.
Or
And you,
batshit crazy.
yeah, or
I
batshit
think
crazy, or
batshit crazy.
unqualified
Yeah.
or
So,
unqualified, and and because serious prosecutors, people who are serious about being lawyers and taking their oaths seriously and not wanting to get their license suspended or disbarred, are not going to want to pursue these bullshit cases where there are no facts to prove anything. That's why he had to get Lindsay Halligan, that bimbo, to try and go after Tish James and James Comey. And Judge Box of Wine is over there trying to indict six members of Congress for saying to the military, don't obey unlawful orders. And Judge Box of Wine couldn't even get the sandwich guy convicted. And
yeah.
so and so I think the incompetence, I've been saying this for a long time, I think the incompetence is what will save us because they're so stupid. They are so dumb. They are so out of their depths. They are so in and over their heads. I think the incompetence is actually a gift.
Well, let's hope so. Because they're making a lot of important decisions that are impacting a lot of people's lives. I was just listening to someone before about uh it was a joke. So there's an American so there's an American who's married to an Irishman. Okay, my hope that was my plan, remember? Um, well, she's married to an Irishman, and so she's an American living in Dublin, and she's a comedian, and she does some funny stuff about comparing, like Irish culture. Um, and there's an expression where they're like look see where like she came back into immigration and they accidentally gave her the wrong stamp on whatever it was for her to come back in. And then she like freaked out because she's like when she realized that she had the wrong, so when she was going for her immigration updates or whatever, she kind of freaked out because she kind of thought about her own country. Like she's joking. She's just kind of like, like where I'm from, she goes, they'll deport me or worse, like, detain, I'll be like hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
And so she's freaking out, and the Irish are like, oh, whatever. Like she explained what happened, and she saw the guy like looking at her passport, and kind of the wheels were spinning, going, oh yeah, that makes sense. And he's like, oh, look, see, and he he just gave her the right stamp, and she went on her way, you know. Um, and it was kind of a joke, but I, I kind of wish, like, why can't we be more like that as a country? Like this makes sense. Like, we work in the DOE, and sometimes when they do shit that doesn't make sense, you're like, really? Like, you don't see how this is kind of, you know, when
Well,
they're looking.
I don't think they care about what's factual or true or logical or what makes sense because when you've built, like Donald Trump has, like when you have built your own reality and you have assembled this army of idiots who will tell you that your reality is true and
People are more
and
about
that
staying in power than
yeah, when
what's
you're
right and wrong.
yeah, and so they'll tell him up is down and down is up. And you once, yes, sir, you did win the 2020 election. Like the Fed chairman nominee said today wouldn't say under oath that Donald Trump lost that election when he
Yeah,
was
and he
in.
wouldn't say about what he would do with interest rates either.
Yeah. And
So, but he said he was going to be an impartial, which is bullshit. So,
well, the
um,
big thing is I know Jerome Powell's term expires next month, and so but if a chairperson is not picked, then or not confirmed, I should say, then he gets to stay on. And he gets to stay on anyway. He gets to stay on as a member of the Board of Governors of the Fed.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
people are going to be really listening to him. They're not going to be those remaining governors. Lisa Cook will be one of them. I think the Supreme Court is going to side with her. Um, I think that they'll be listening to Jerome Powell. They won't be listening to that puppet that Trump puts into place. And
because they'll confirm him anyway, because that's what they do. We complain about it, and then we just rubber stamp what he says. So, uh,
I think it's important to note for that Tom Tillis, who is the outgoing senator from North Carolina, he has pledged to hold up Donald Trump's nominee for the Fed chair unless Judge Boxawine drops her investigation of Jerome Powell. And I don't
that's
know if
good.
yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen because, Trump said earlier this week that he does not want the Justice Department to let that go. He said that he is wanting that to happen as a way to, continue to pressure Powell, even though it hasn't worked. And it shouldn't because that should be independent. The Fed should be independent. That should be based solely on economic data, not the whims of a madman.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see what happens with that confirmation. Um, Trump has kept going he's keeping the ceasefire going. That was today. I don't know what he's going to do tomorrow, but today he's extending the ceasefire with Iran.
So he
Uh,
tacoed again.
what?
He tacoed
Yeah,
again.
yes, he tacoed. He tacoed. So is it Tuesday? Yes,
It
it
is.
is.
It's
It's
Taco
Taco
Tuesday again.
Tuesday.
Yes. It's Taco Tuesday
Maybe
again.
he, maybe that's, maybe that's what he does. I'm wondering, like, if he's in the White House going, I'm gonna bomb them, and then someone's like, it's Taco Tuesday, and he's like, oh, okay, okay, let's extend the ceasefire. It's Taco Tuesday.
Well, the
So
funny thing is that, there's no real plan to actually deal with what's going on there because, he claims there's a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Israel breaks it. Uh, and, it's to say it's fragile, it's probably not doing it justice. But um, he's sending world-renowned nuclear program experts and international diplomacy scholars, uh, Witkoff and Kushner,
I was
his
gonna say,
son-in-law, yeah, and his son-in-law, and the kiss of death, J.D. Vance is also going to be there, because there's no surefire way to sabotage
Full of
anything.
deal.
Yeah,
So advanced into the room. So
yeah. Well, ask Viktor Orban how that went, and the Pope and the last Pope that he killed by actually meeting with him,
yeah.
and the last negotiations in Iran, which he totally face planted with. And I think actually, from what I'm reading about in Axios and in other places, I'm reading that J.D. Vance's stock has significantly fallen inside MAGA world and inside the administration, and Marco Rubio is his stock is rising. Little
Yeah,
Mark,
I could, yeah, honestly
little
see that.
Marco's stock is rising.
I I just hope they keep away from Cuba, They're kind
I
of
hope
busy
so
with
too.
Iran. I hope so too. And I know that they're s- they're having some sort of, discussions. But, you know, let the Cuban people decide who their leadership's going to be, not the United States. That is not our territory. Um, and
Well, Tucker also today too, just as a piggybacking on that, Tucker Carlson today that he regrets his role in helping to reelect Donald Trump because of
yeah,
the war in Iran, which you know I don't think I know people are taking Tucker more seriously on the left, and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene actually put out a statement earlier this week questioning the assassination attempt in Butler.
I saw that. I saw
Yeah.
that. I've always kind of wondered. I was like, I don't see that scar anymore. You don't hear about that anything about the guy who, did the assassination attempt.
Oh, I think it was
Um,
staged. It
I'm
was
not a
totally staged.
conspiracy theorist, but I find that whole thing a little
I
interesting.
I
But
always thought that was totally staged, the whole
but
thing.
but Tucker Carlson, and somebody said this. I believe I heard it on The View today, and I agree with Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. They make these comments simply to get readership, to
Well,
get
they get their views,
to
certainly.
get their views.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
well, I
he
also think I also
he
but I
went he
think
went and interviewed Putin, like
well he
gave
did. Well
that
he
man a platform.
Yeah. Well, and he also, I do believe that he genuinely does not like Trump because in the uh, 2020 election suit between Dominion Voting and Fox News, in the discovery process was text messages between many of the big personalities on Fox. And Tucker Carlson was there at the time as on Fox News, and he called Trump demonic in those text messages.
Yeah.
He
What did
called
Vance
him.
call?
Oh, I know, but Tucker has had disdain for Trump for a long time, and it's just he just hasn't shown it as publicly. And so, because that was a long time ago now, that was 6 or 7 years ago, and so he was saying, Trump is demonic, and that he hates him, and those were what the text messages were saying at the time.
What's important to us is members of Congress that begin, not voting, and pushing certain legislation. That's the Republicans I want to see crack. I can't stand Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. They're
I
so
worry.
they're flip-flops,
Yeah,
They're
well, I worried that, I think Tucker might throw his hat in 2028 and challenge JD and challenge Rubio. And, we've seen that basically
so no,
anybody could be nominated by a major party these days.
yeah,
And
that's
so,
true.
and
Yeah.
so I'm worried that, what Trump is kind of suppressing on their side. I'm worried that we may look back at Trump and say, wow, what a great time that was. Like, because those people are far worse and far more smart and far smarter.
Well, if we elect them, that's our own. We're not going to elect. This is why, once again, the Democrats really need to build the lead party leadership as
Well,
opposed.
they do need to build, and to be fair, I think the national bench, um, is actually quite strong for 28. There's many candidates who I think who are really good this time around. Somebody who I thought we've been sleeping on, that we haven't talked about much, you and I here, is John Ossoff. I think John Ossoff is a
That
really good
from
candidate.
Georgia?
Yes.
Why do you
He,
think he's
well, he's running for
he
re
barely won his election? So
No, he won it pretty convincingly in Georgia 6 years ago.
pretty
Um,
close.
It was close, but now actually, heading into the 26th cycle, he was viewed as the most vulnerable of the Senate Democrats because he's in Georgia. Trump won Georgia in 24, and so people thought, oh my God, this could be bad. But I think a few things worked out for him. Brian Kemp, the governor, decided not to run. And number two, he's built a really strong and effective brand in the state, and he's an excellent communicator. He did a really strong rally this past weekend where he laid out the economic case against Trump and MAGA and the Republicans, and won for his own. And I think he's a really strong candidate, and he's not uneasy on the eyes. I will say that. And I think a really strong ticket might be Ossoff and AOC. Young. It's a very young ticket. And so
Interesting.
that's a really young ticket because they're both kind of in that age bracket. So I think that would be a really strong ticket, one that we should think about.
AOC running for president, also running for vice president.
Or either or. Either or, I
Yeah,
think would be a good ticket. I think he's got a very Kennedy quality to him, I think.
good. But
And so,
I think she's been. uh, If I would rather see her be president than Ossoff. But nice ticket. So I'll
yeah,
take it. I'll take the AOC on top. Um,
yes, AOC's the Dom top.
yeah, yeah. So
She's the Dom top.
she's good. To be honest though, I don't necessarily. I think she should run for Senate, and then I think she should run for president in the next cycle. Um, because I think she's very good. I mean, I would vote for her for president in this cycle, but I just think she's just starting to get more people to see her.
Yeah.
And what I don't want is that she comes on and people make all of these crazy things about her and which are not true. Um,
Well, they've already done that. I think the ship has sailed on that one.
well, you never know. They can do it. You know what's interesting? I saw something on Instagram. I don't know who the person was. They were an elected official down in Florida. They were showing a free train in Florida, in Miami. It was a
Free train.
free train or free
Okay.
bus. I know there's a free shuttle. I don't know if it's a free shuttle. It was a free mode of transportation in a Republican led area. And he was like, so this is free. But in New York City, when Mondami says it's for free, it's a socialist backed. Um, but when a Republican propose and they have it and they run it, it's fine. So,
Well, the state is Republican, but in Miami, actually, the Democrats won back the mayorship. So,
well, I
uh,
don't know if it was a mayor backed, but it was in but the fact is Florida is notoriously conservative and Republican, but it's okay in Miami, but it's not okay in New York to have free buses. Like, we just to scare people away from we tack this dirty word socialist on it, which is not a dirty word, and we just assume that it just simply can't work. The whole grocery store thing with Mondami, um, I want to know a little bit more about the logistics of it. Um,
yeah.
but otherwise, what's
Well, they could.
so bad about giving cheap food out?
Yeah. Well, it's also, what they're proposing right now is not exactly what he was proposing during the campaign, because right now what he's proposing is just this is a pilot. So essentially, let's just try this out, see if it works, and if it takes off, great, we'll expand it. If not, we'll never see it again. But
COVID. take
And
it.
so, yeah, so we'll see if it actually does work. And I'm all for, expanding food access to people who need it, and at reasonable prices that perhaps maybe are not that are not uh, subject to the same kind of whims and uh, you know, and they're not so controlled by outside events the way that free markets are. And
There,
so that's what I'm hoping for.
so at the Green Market, I go every Saturday and then I do the live show. That stuff is expensive. Like you buy. It's a lot. The food is locally grown and it's amazing, and I do my budgeting best to buy something from there each week and support local farmers. But one of the things that they do, um, and it was cut, like the federal funds were cut, but they they give out people with public assistance. They give out these tickets for vouchers. Like they can buy these vouchers, but they give them like a 2 for 1. So like they might get $5 worth of food vouchers, but they get 2 for 1, so they technically get 10. And that's like a subsidized program. But I see a lot of people at the Green Market, um, you know, who are on, you know, some sort of assistance get food and, I mean, get those vouchers.
Right.
So that would be something that maybe the federal government, but one of the things that the government cut, and I remember this because one of my former students was part of the Green Market. They were now they're doing something else, but there's these free programs at Goodhue where you buy into the food co-op. Like I can participate in that, but it's very affordable. For $7, I can get like a bag of groceries each week. But one of the things that they sponsored was kind of this educational program, like how to use vegetables. Like, you know, I'll get a bag of vegetables I've never seen or used before. I don't know what to do with them. And there's all these like suggestions about what the vegetable is and how it can be used. It's quite helpful. They cut it, you
Yeah.
know. And it's just a way for people who are not exposed to fresh food, to learn how to utilize it more. It's unfortunate. So,
Yeah. Well, a really funny clip that, I don't have it prepared with me, but I just thought of it right now. Uh, the mayor, Zohran Mamdani, was actually interviewed this week, and the interviewer asked him, uh, you've met with the president now a few times, you've spoken to him several times. Do you still think he's a fascist? He was like, yes. And then he was like, and she's like, well, do you tell him that? And he's like, yes. It was the second yes that got me. It was like, because like he's like, yes. And then, I think that's a model for how Democrats should deal with Donald Trump. They have to know what they're dealing with, and find the happy medium the way that Mamdani has, where get what you will from him, but also understand what this is and what this is about, and let's stop bringing the stuffed animals to knife fights.
we have to stop being so afraid of stepping on eggshells as well and say this is who we are, and win people over with what we actually do for, the majority of working folks. And to be honest, we don't do a hell of a lot more these days. Um,
No,
I know one because we're not in power, but still, um, you know, there is so much more we can do. That I'm looking at when I go to other countries and looking about the possibility of retiring in other countries. One of the main reasons is their healthcare is so much more affordable. Like one of the requirements in many countries is you have to buy your own healthcare, and you're like, oh, like, you gasp, and then you find out
yeah,
how much it is. It's like cheaper than buying healthcare in the United States.
yeah,
And it's quality. And so, yeah, so it's kind of like Democrats, we put out very bold, strong policies that have really helped, people in this country, and we should be bold and keep going and not be afraid, stop being afraid of the word socialism. And if you are in a conservative district, well, you know what? Maybe you should talk to working class people and realize that they benefit from more progressive policies. Um, you know, Police and fire and sanitation are union jobs. And, you know, unions need good contracts. Unions need good health care. People join unions because they just want to raise their family and have a pension to retire to. And those things need to be stay secure. Back those things. You know, you
Yeah,
know.
no, absolutely. I think that's what we ought to do. And I think one of the things that we ought to do when, we're not holding Donald Trump's feet to the fire when we get back the majority is we have to uh, pass the PRO Act. We've been trying to do that for many years. That reaffirms a union's right, workers' right to organize unions, and gives certain protections to unions to workers who do decide to do that. I know Nancy Pelosi, when she was Speaker of the House, passed it several times during the first Trump presidency and during the Biden presidency, and of course, it died a slow death in the Senate. And so I think that should be absolutely our priority in the next Congress.
When we win.
Yeah,
So
and
we'll
we
make this
will,
we full circle. And because we're going to flip
yeah.
the Democrat,
We're flipping New York 11. We're going to flip Virginia. We are going to
the
uh, five,
House, we're
five
going to
seat.
flip that table like Teresa. So,
Yes, and we're going to also flip the Senate. And for folks who may be listening and not watching, I'm fully cocooned now in a blanket because initially I
cold
started.
out. It's
I
cold.
yeah, and well, initially
My house is cold.
I started this recording by opening my window and turning on my fan, and now I'm cold again. So like
Oh,
I have to adjust.
I have to show you. Can you see the two of them over there?
I see.
Can you
I
see them? They're
see.
both
They're both
sleeping.
they're both cocooned, yes.
Yes. So they're both sleeping. Where's Guillermo? Oh, there he is. See, there he is
Yeah.
sleeping. So look at them. I'm fostering another dog. So, um, well,
Well,
anyway, on that note,
yeah, well, on something a little bit lighter, those two look like they belong together. Maybe you should get him a sibling.
yeah, no, not right now. I have to get him on an airplane first. So
Yeah.
we're gonna take two of them on an airplane. I mean,
Well, listen, I would much rather a dog than like a screaming toddler,
well,
honestly.
hey, that's why I wanted a dog that would be good with other dogs so I could foster still. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm fostering this guy, and Guillermo gets a little fun playmate for a few days, and and then his foster gets to go on vacation for a few days. So that's how we're helping. So, and I think down the road I will get a second dog, but I will get a second dog when I decide where I'm going to retire to.
Yeah, because I think, they look, I don't know, maybe it's their size or they're
Yeah, they're
just,
both very similar size and energy.
uh, they look, and so they look, just like naturally like they belong with each other. I don't know what it is.
They were playing today, reminded me of Edie and Eddie when they were little. Because for so many years I was so used to them just like lying in the sun going, like just being old dogs, and it just brought me back when they used to like, run around and play fight and grab the toys from each other. So, yeah, it makes me think about them. So we have a lot of little life and they're finally sleeping and not barking. So I apologize to our listeners if that was
I didn't
annoying
hear,
for a little bit.
I didn't hear anything. I
Well,
didn't hear
good.
anything. I heard like a bark here and there, but I didn't hear like it wasn't, constant.
All right, well, good. So, anyhow, so should we just end on that then?
Yes, and
You can go cocoon
again,
in your blanket.
yes, so I can cocoon further. Congratulations, Virginia. You are fighting back against Donald Trump's redistricting gambit, and
Woohoo!
you give us all hope for, preserving and saving our democracy. And on that note, this is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
And I'm Nancy Richards, and we'll see you soon.